Yo, dog.
What up, man?
A good bit actually.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of interesting, right? You know, like you think about like mutants and how so many of them view their abilities as a curse, and then as time progresses, they learn how to view their abilities, you know, as a good thing. Learn how to utilize it properly, and that's what I've learned to do here. So, like, whenever we do comic news, that's when like shit normally really cranks up afterwards, you know, after we discuss something, and then the news media is just blows up with like huge news. You know, I used to consider that a curse, but now I'm like, if things are ever just too stable and normal, we can just do a comic news episode and then something cool will happen.
Yeah, I mean, literally, like, we could do a comic news episode and then Kevin Feige would be like, okay, cool, here's phases 7, 8, and 9.
Right.
Be like, is Disney going to be around long enough to make those? Are you going to have a job long enough to make those, Kevin Feige?
One of the things we spoke about a little bit on the comic news episode was Pandaverse, and now that it's out and everyone has seen it,
my God, Disney is trying to get that shit taken down off of YouTube. Anywhere little clips of it are popping up.
I didn't even realize that until you had told me the other day, but then it hit me. I had never seen a clip of it online.
Yeah,
and that is that does say a lot, man. That was incredible though.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're not in the know and you're just popping in, South Park released their latest special because they had a deal with Paramount to put out like 71 movies or something crazy like that. And the latest one is Into the Pandaverse, which takes, you know, as only South Park can, right? It takes all these elements of modern pop culture and kind of mixes them together into a neat little story. So, you know, they kind of took Baldur's Gate 3, diversity casting as a whole, and then just all of the turmoil at Disney, and kind of, you know, mesh that together. And I feel like I may be missing another element that they wove into there.
Yeah. The Randy side plot, which was, you know, basically about the lack of capable people.
Right.
You know,
yes. The AI stuff. Yeah. I was like, I know I'm forgetting part of this. Yeah. Which it's very sly, right? Because if you just look at it on the, like, I could see someone who has the mentality of like diversity is bad, looking at that episode and going, yeah, this really reinforces like my views, but.
Right.
And you know, maybe South Park crafts it in such a way that it's like, you know, you can think this is funny regardless of what your ideologies might be, you know, but the real issue isn't that there's diversity in movies and TV shows.
No.
As a matter of fact, I think that's a fantastic thing. The problem is when you put that ahead of everything else, you know.
Right.
And
C. Cartman Kennedy.
Yeah. Yes. And also with the handyman stuff, right? You know, they put a really interesting spotlight on something that's very real, being that, you know, people who are in jobs right now that cannot be replaced by AI are in a really good spot.
Yeah.
And that's true. You know, there is a much larger AI discussion to be had, but this ain't the cast for it.
You know, in terms of like AI, man, you're right. This isn't the cast for it. That would take a whole episode by itself.
Yeah.
But man, the reason why we can't do it yet is because like this saga is far from over.
Yeah.
This battle with AI is only beginning. And I mean, and then, you know, I think about it, man. What if one day, you know, I'm like, man, I really don't feel like podcasting today, and there's an app where they can just kind of like take our voices and all the past episodes, you know, current nerd events, just hit a button and then it just spits out an episode. I'm like,
yeah.
There's enough of us speaking on the internet for that to happen.
That's true. I mean, we're at over 1,000 episodes now.
Close to it. Yeah, it's fucking up there. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I mean, I'm on season 7 of. That's weird that I don't know of my show. So
right.
yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of it out there. So it's like, would you like us to generate a podcast assemble? That would be an extra $10.
And then you wonder though, like, so like and I just said we weren't going to talk about AI, but like, currently it's like the technology just is not there to recreate like the creativity and the individuality that goes into, podcasting, like the different personalities, things of that nature, the random off the wall jokes. But that's not the issue. The issue is that it's not there yet. Who's to say that it couldn't be?
Well, and the thing about it is, right, like, I think that AI is cool as a concept, and I'm fine to let it control the lights in my house, tell me the weather,
right?
Anything like that. I've got one of those cool Google cameras or whatever. They want to use AI to detect if a squirrel goes through my yard. That's fine. That's awesome. I want AI to do the mundane shit that I don't want to do.
Right.
Come up with a way for it to wash my fucking dishes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I do not want it to, and that's kind of the problem is with the quote unquote tech bros, is it's like, yeah, we got AI to do all these things, and it's like, no, I don't want AI to do any of that. Right. I want AI to do the mundane shit that I don't want to do.
Yeah.
And so that I can spend more time doing the shit that you guys are trying to get AI to do.
Exactly. It's a weird inverse happened, right? So like instead of AI doing, all of the shit that takes us away from fully expressing our creativity and doing things that makes us happy, instead they're making AI do all of that shit and leaving us with the mundane task. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I'm under the pretense that there is no such thing as AI art. Because I believe that human creativity is a necessary component of art. And so without that, you're just generating fluff, things. And here's the thing too, is like, I also don't want to read a book or an article that's generated by an AI because if nobody was going to take the time to write this shit, then I don't believe I should take the time to read it.
Yeah.
So
exactly. And it's like, I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, but it's like, man, I don't believe an AI could write, an Infinity Gauntlet story. I don't believe an AI could, write a Paul Dini Batman story or anything like that. But hell,
that Blue Beetle movie though,
that it can write a Blue Beetle movie.
I think an AI could write that shit. I think an AI did write that shit. Yeah. I will not be convinced otherwise. A fucking AI wrote that movie.
And it's like, the soullessness and the paint by numbers of something. And maybe to an extent AI can replicate that because we've seen a lot of kind of soulless, just paint by the numbers, you have to do these certain steps to tell this kind of story type movies. And I'm like, an AI can pick up on those vague details and do that fairly similar to some of the shit we've gotten here recently. But when it comes to like, you think about some of the best movies you've ever seen, and it's like, I don't think AI can do that.
No. John Peters would be very happy, though. He'd be like, make me a Superman movie. I don't want to see him in the suit. Don't want to see him flying. And I need him to fight a giant spider at the end. And the AI's like, sure.
All right.
And for shits and giggles, put some Kevin Smith jokes in there.
Yeah.
So I can believe he wrote it.
Yeah. Oh man, but have we heard anything about what Kathleen Kennedy thinks about Pandaverse shit? Because they went in hard on her.
So this is the thing, man. This is like long overdue. Is like, I feel like I'm not trying to claim that I'm some sort of cultural icon or anything, but I feel like I started this fight. Like, not the fight. She started the fight. I feel like I started the revolution against Kathleen Kennedy because for years I have been like, the problem is Kathleen Kennedy. And I think a lot of that is like, if you go and watch, I'm the type of person where I really like to watch like if I'm really into a movie, I like to watch all the like behind the scenes stuff and like the interviews and all that stuff. Lord of the Rings is probably the best example of that. I've seen all of that shit because it's just all so good. You know? And when I watch those things and I hear Kathleen Kennedy talk about her contributions to them, it's always bullshit, you know? It's like, you know, they credit her with the T-Rex from Jurassic Park looking as good as it did. But really all she did was walk into the room and see that two of their, like, technicians or whatever they are had made, graphic artists at the time, had made a better-looking version of the walk. And then she was like, hey, we should use this one. And that was literally her contribution. And, like, to hear her or anybody there at Lucasfilm tell it, she drew the shit by hand.
Right, right. She put together the animatronic herself, you know what I mean?
Yeah, she just, all she did was fucking take credit for what some other people had done.
Right.
You know, and I'm just like, well, that tracks. And it's just like, she lived under George Lucas's shadow for all these years, and she's just a fucking glorified coffee getter. And I, you know, I don't have anything against her personally, but I just I need her to go work somewhere else.
Yeah, and it's weird, right? Because rarely do you see people in positions of power like that lose it. They just kind of, worst case scenario for them, they just get transferred somewhere else.
John Peters. I mean,
yeah, John Peters. Like,
John Peters was ruining shit at WB for like 2 decades.
Oh yeah,
So-
yeah, long fucking time, right?
Yeah.
You know, like Victoria Alonso. Like, I was so shocked, pleasantly surprised when, you know, she got canned. You know, that's like removing one tumor, you know, in a sea of many. It's like there's more than just one problem. It goes deeper than that.
And Victoria Alonso didn't get canned because her creative direction was terrible.
No, yeah,
She got canned on like a corporate fucking technicality, which I'll take it.
yeah,
But it's just like, it's like, it goes, you know, it's just like I said last time, going all the way back to like the, hey, this shit in Ragnarok ain't really jiving with us. It's like, yeah, like this is a systemic problem.
Right.
And we're just now seeing the very roots of it, you know, where it's just like, you know, you guys got rid of Victoria Alonso, but it's not for the reasons that you should have gotten rid of her.
exactly.
And, you know, with as far as Kathleen Kennedy goes, I really hope that this Rey movie comes out. And I just hope it bombs. And maybe that will be the final straw.
Well, you know, this is kind of a transition to the other thing that we really wanted to speak on, but I think that for Disney across the board, that they're going to start slashing these budgets simply because I think now they've reached the point where they think it is unrealistic for these franchise movies to make $1 billion on a regular basis again.
Well, and that's the thing, though, is like, they really never did, right? Like, if you go back and look at, like, Iron Man 2,
Right.
Thor 1, Thor 2, those movies were, I mean, even Winter Soldier,
Yep.
you know, those are $500-600 million movies, which, you know, granted, that's a lot better than they're doing today.
Yeah.
But if these movies were good, like if they were still great quality, they could rake it in. Guardians 3 raked it in.
It did.
You can't be like, oh, superhero fatigue. And you know, I read an interesting article lately where it's like the only win that Marvel has had lately is still seen as a loss for them because James Gunn took his ball and went home
Yeah.
to Warner Brothers.
Right.
So, you know, it's like the one shining example you had of, hey guys, we can still make an excellent film, because I loved Guardians 3.
Same.
I think it's tremendous. Like, it's very unique. It's not like every other superhero movie out there. You think that would be a heads up, you know, but like, you know, like you guys are going to go watch the Marvels next week. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to wait. You know, it's eating me up.
I can tell. Yeah, you look very distraught about it.
But even if it's just a turn your brain off fun movie, which would be an upgrade from the first one,
A huge upgrade.
if it's just to buy the numbers, like, okay, Act 1, we're going to have a mustache twirling villain, and then some random identity crisis for the fucking hero.
Yep.
And then in Act 2, some shit's going to go bad. Somebody's going to get beat up or hurt or going to have to need a pep talk or something. And then we're going to have a giant CG fest in Act 3.
Right.
If it's just that by the numbers, AI fucking
Yeah.
could replicate this movie, then it means nothing, and people are just going to move on. People are going to wait till it comes on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they're going to wait till it comes on Disney Plus, and then it's going to get lost in the shuffle like a lot of their other things.
And so. I will say this too about Disney Plus content in general. Mm-hmm. Well, that just but I have to have Kira fix that for me. Disney Plus content in general is that all of it's just so forgettable.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know if I can actually, really put my finger on why that is, because Netflix doesn't really seem to have that with their shows. Like Stranger Things to me is so prevalent, even though there hasn't been an episode of it in over a year. Like it's just like, oh yeah, I know exactly where that is if I want to go watch it. But like Disney Plus, it just seems like I watch something, it goes into the abyss, and I never have any desire really to watch it again.
And that is kind of like the weird thing about their streaming service. And I think that they're realizing that problem themselves.
Yeah.
So they said they're going to cut back on the amount of content that they're releasing. And, it was like there's been a lot of talk recently because of the you might have seen it, I think it was Variety that did an article about, the MCU and addressing like the issues with it, and people are making it such a big deal because this is one of the first mainstream news sources that's really looking at the Marvel Cinematic Universe and critiquing it. And, they're saying a lot of basic shit that, we've been saying for years now. But, ultimately, they're trying to get at the idea that the problem is just the quantity of it, and how things feel so unfocused, and how there's little to no connectivity. People can't resonate with the characters, and I give a little bit of pushback on that, and I give a little bit of pushback to Variety. I like what they're trying to do, but the issue is that the issue isn't really even the characters so much. Even though I do agree there are better characters that could be using, but the Avengers were started based off of the leftovers, the leftover characters that Fox and Sony didn't want.
Right.
And look what happened there. And like the connectivity, people can still vibe with the movie if it's good, even if it's not directly connected to anything else. Guardians 3 isn't connected to the greater MCU when you think about it. It's not, they don't leave you being like, oh man, I can't wait to see, what they do as part of the Avengers or whatever. It's part of its own contained story. But you look at what the biggest problem is, and it's weird that no one says it, but it's a quality issue. The quality just isn't there.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of the issues that you just mentioned are very valid symptoms, but I don't know that they are the disease. Right. Like, I think the disease is ultimately, it's like you said, it's the quality and the care. It's the, like you could tell, like phase one is Kevin Feige and the people at Marvel going, we think we could really do something with these characters.
Yeah.
And Kevin Feige's vision of bringing an Avengers movie to the screen, right? Like, here's this really ambitious thing that we could do. And just the culmination of that, and how you can go back today, even though we've seen 700 superhero movies since then, you can go back and watch those movies, and they still feel like there's a tone to them that is like, these were crafted by people who have such a depth and care for this. Whereas you watch fucking Blue Beetle, and like I said, I swear an AI wrote that shit.
And it feels like it.
And it feels like it when you're watching it. It's just like, I'm just watching a thing that was churned out to get me to spend $17 to sit here and watch it. And also, going back to streaming thing, they're also cannibalizing their own box office, because, when the pandemic happened, they were like, oh, we're going to rush to put this out on Disney Plus. The first thing they tried to do, I think it was with...
Was it Black Widow or something
I think it was a Black Widow, or it may have been Eternals. Horrible films to start this with.
The Eternals actually made it to theater.
Oh, yeah. So what they were trying to do, though, is, remember, they were trying to charge like $30 or whatever?
Oh, right. That was Black Widow. I remember that. Yeah,
so they were like, we're going to put this in theaters, but it's also going to come out on Disney Plus, but you got to pay $30 to watch it. I'm like, you guys are only getting like $9 from my movie ticket. The theater's getting the rest. But you want me to pay $30 to watch it at my own house on my own shit?
Yeah.
They dropped that quickly, so you could tell nobody was buying that.
Oh,
shit.
that, and also like Scarlett Johansson, she tried to sue, right, and then they settled.
Yeah,
because of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that ended real quick.
Oh yeah, real quick. And then so it's like, but even now though, you look at it and it's like the movie comes out on Disney Plus in what, 3 months tops, and it's just like they are cannibalizing their own box office, because if you're not going to make the content compelling, so that's the thing is like you talk about the connectivity and it's all related. If you're not going to give me something that's like, oh my god, there's this big reveal on like where the story of the overall MCU is going, a lot of people, unless you got a podcast, are like, fuck it, I'll watch it in 3 months.
Yeah.
Why not?
Right.
It's not like I'm going to go to work and anybody's going to be talking about it, because they're going to do the same thing.
Exactly. Like I look at the end of Eternal, for those who may not even remember it. Like you get the whole reveal, like the Blade voiceover. You get the reveal of Eros. The brother of Thanos. And what happens with that? That was years ago now. What about
that shit's never coming up.
No,
ever. I mean, it's just not. And not to mention Blade. The Blade came in and that was terrible. And are we ever going to actually get Mahershala Ali as Blade? Because
he sounds like he wants out.
Yeah,
and I don't blame him.
I mean, so did Wesley Snipes though. So.
I mean, like at this point, so you may have heard this too, but the Blade movie has again been completely gutted and restarted after like the terrible leaks for that film dropped, to the point where I'm like, what made you guys think this was a good idea in the first place?
They need to just loosely remake the first movie.
Yeah, make the first movie, but with a 2023 lens.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, change things here and there.
Yeah, and at that point, that may be the safest option for them, because it's weird, right? Looking at some of those plot leaks, I'm like, I don't know if they know how to do it anymore.
I'm just sitting there and you read this shit and you're like, who is writing this?
Right.
Stuff?
Same thing with like the Daredevil TV show. Like you read those leaks and it's like, what were you thinking?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It's like, what did you guys never? I mean, what it comes down to is like this aversion to the source material. And I just don't. I do not get it at all.
Yeah. Well, for better or for worse, the Blade movie's budget has been slashed to $100 million, and I don't know if that already counts for what's been spent or if that's just $100 million from here going forward. But
that's not good.
No, but maybe with the right director, that could be really good though. And if you give that director freedom,
maybe they can get old Lim back for the intro. That's a little Easter egg. That's a deep cut, folks.
God damn. But it's one more thing about like the Daredevil thing, and then we'll get this thing started here properly. But the whole idea with the Daredevil TV show having it be like a court procedural, and then him not showing up as Daredevil until like episode 4, it'd be like we got like the first ever live action high budget Batman TV show, but we just see Bruce Wayne doing corporate shit. For 4 episodes.
It's just 4 episodes of him at board meetings. He goes home. Alfred makes him a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Right.
And then he's like turning in for the night, Master Bruce, and he's like, "Yep," and just goes to bed. or even worse, he's like, and Alfred's like turning in for the night, Master Wayne, and he's just like, nah, and then you see him go down to the Bat Cave, and that's it. And it just goes the next morning with him waking up.
Yeah. And the next morning, like they're reading a paper about Batman's activity.
Yeah. Fucking Christ! But one last thing though that reminded me of this. One of the most interesting parts of the leaks? Did you see where apparently She-Hulk had a Game of Thrones level budget for every episode?
I call bullshit.
Yeah, apparently they spent a fuck ton of money on that show. And I'm like,
where did it go? No, that's a embezzlement scheme.
Did what's the guy's name that plays Daredevil?
Charlie Cox.
Yeah, did Charlie Cox just like rake them over the coals? Like, I want $10 million an episode.
Right.
What the fuck?
Yeah, or $10,000 a second. I'm on screen. Either.
No, the second that I'm at your studio,
right,
doing this shit. Yeah. Yeah, apparently, like a lot of the visual effects and stuff got like the reason that a lot of the VFX looked like were so inconsistent was because like some of it the video effects people had plenty of time to make it,
Right.
but then they kept making changes, so some of the visual effects looked like garbage, and so I feel like if the visual effects looked like shit across the board, that's better than if they were inconsistent. Because when they're inconsistent, you can't help but notice it.
Right.
You know, it'd be like if like they got Justin Roiland to come back as Rick for like half an episode.
Yeah.
You know, like I've already forgotten that it's not his voice now. Like I can just watch the show and not think about it. But
if he were to come back sporadically,
if he were to come back sporadically, I'd be like, nah.
Oh, I need to catch up on that.
It's been a good season, man.
That's what I heard.
I haven't seen. I guess an episode comes out today, but the first 3 have been quite good. The only thing I will say is the voice for Mr. Poopy Butthole in the opener, fucking terrible. Like whoever they got for that, they just need, they need to go.
Yeah.
They gotta go.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that being said, homies one and all, welcome back to a very, very special episode of the Superhero Homies podcast. My name is Quentin, and today I'm joined here with my good friend, my brother, the homie Caleb. Caleb, welcome back to the pod, my friend.
What up, what up? I'm so glad to be here. I was super happy when you asked me to come on and review this because, honestly, like Gen V has been one of kind of the highlights of TV as of late.
It's been one of the highlights for me of like superhero content this year, man. I mean, like, say what you will about Amazon, like they shit the bed when it comes to high fantasy, but when it comes to like their superhero content, they're putting out some of the best shit, you know?
I can't name another live action Amazon show that's good other than like The Boys Verse. Oh, because
yeah.
pretty much all of it is dog shit other than that. But the animated stuff like Vox Machina, Invincible, all that stuff is great. Diabolical.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All the animation is like so good. I mean, they're about to start Mighty Nine, which is campaign 2.
Right.
So they're going to be running those, I guess. Like I'm assuming that they're probably going to do a Disney type thing, and they'll do like a season of Vox Machina, a season of Mighty Nine, and kind of run that along. So. And I mean, Matt Mercer and the crew are gonna keep they're already on campaign 3 right now. So
yeah, and that's fucking incredible. So they can just keep that shit going.
Yeah.
But Gen V obviously is a spinoff of The Boys. And quick plug here: just a few weeks ago, had the opportunity to review Lindsay Burners and Matt Snyder. 2 clinical psychologists and co-editors of a very interesting book coming out called Soups Ain't Always Heroes, which is a deeper, darker look at the Boys universe, some of the characters and some of the satirical elements that go into the show. It's a fascinating book, and it was a fascinating episode. Definitely recommend you guys check that out. And you guys can also pre-order the book. It comes out December 5th, and if you pre-order at the link in the show notes, you guys actually get bonus content, artwork. I believe it was actually drawn by Derek Robertson, one of the co-creators of the Boys comic book. So,
wow,
yeah,
I definitely got to check that out. I saw it pop up the other day, and I know you had been talking about the episode, so I'm really hyped to check it out.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, really, really cool. I told them this on air, but they're probably two of the most overqualified guests I've ever had on this podcast. So,
well, thanks.
I mean, present company excluded. I feel like that goes without saying.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah,
all
come
right,
on. Cool. All right, but with that being said, man, Gen V, I was really looking forward to this show just because I love the Boys universe. And it's one of the rare properties where I actually enjoy the TV show more than the comic book. And that's saying something because the comic is really good, but whereas the comic book is a parody of superhero comic books in general, the TV show is kind of like a satirical parody on a lot of things that go on in life, you know, and so they really kind of do things a little bit differently there. But because I enjoyed The Boys so much, I was really looking forward to Gen V, and I gotta say, for the most part, I really, really enjoyed what they delivered. By the way, full spoilers for this. So if you guys have not seen Gen V, then go ahead and take a pause and check that out and come back.
I'd say probably full spoilers for the boys universe. So seasons 1, 2, and 3 of that as well. So.
Shizzle.
Going into this, I wasn't sure what we were going to get. Mm-hmm. Let me get this out of the gate first because I really liked this show.
Yeah.
But I do have some very major complaints about it. I will say I was not a fan of The Boys season 3. Not to say that I didn't like it at all. I just don't like the direction that it's going in. I feel like they're starting to do some Yellowstone shit. Matter of fact, Yellowstoning might be, I'm coining that right now. That's when your show gets really popular and you just decide to have filler. I feel like they're dragging the plot out a lot. Like I feel like with the Soldier Boy story, like kind of how that just went nowhere. Like it just kind of went right back to the status quo at the beginning of the season, like he's just on ice again.
Yeah, I feel like that whole thing that really just went to drive Homelander to where he ends up at the end of the season.
Yeah, and I see that too. And then also, like the whole deal with Maeve where they were just like, well, she can't keep her mouth shut, so we got to get rid of her.
He's talking about the actress, by the way, not the...
Yeah, not the character. Yeah, no, she comes to Dragon Con and spoils everything. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of... I feel like, to an extent, they're kind of spinning tires with the overall the overarching plot. And that grates on me a little bit. And so the way that Gen V ends, it was just like, here's this, like, fresh kind of story in this universe, and then at the end they're like, no, we're just gonna make it serve that same kind of deal. And like it just if we're going by the old Vince McMahon, they only remember the finished kid, then yuck. But other than that, like the first 8 episode show, the first 7 episodes I thought were tremendous. It felt like this show was like any of the shit the CW was trying to do and always failed at,
The whole idea behind this show ending the way that it does, and we talked about this off mic, but it does undercut the series as a whole.
Yeah.
And it doesn't do the boys any favors either, just because the way that it ends, it's not even a cliffhanger, because there's no cliff to hang on to, Like, they just drop you off a fucking airplane and expect you to have your own parachute. But having Homelander just show up out of nowhere at the very end, and then he does his Homelander shtick, which is still really good. Anthony Starr's still really good, obviously, but he, from what we can tell, for all intents and purposes, lasers one of the main characters, Marie. Yeah, lasers her. And we've seen what happens when he lasers anything.
It usually explodes.
Yeah. And then, they cut the smash cut, and then we see like a news article about, domestic terrorists on campus, and it's our 4 main protagonists. And then, we see the heroes of the campus, are the 2 fucking psychopaths.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that shit was unsurprising, and I would not have gone for that. But if they wanted to stick to that, and then like have like a Watchmen level, twister at the end where like there's a chance that the truth could come out.
Right.
I'm like, I wouldn't have gone for that, but I respect the balls to at least stick to that and commit to it. But they don't. So instead they got, I guess, 2 years to figure out how these kids survived, where they are, and what their next move is going to be. And I guarantee you, I guess, season 5, maybe there'll be some crossover shit between the boys and Gen V, and them trying to stop Newman or whoever has this virus.
I think it's going to be a major point in season 4.
Yeah.
I think that the virus with Newman and all this stuff, because honestly, like, I wouldn't be shocked if it turns out that Newman's been in Homelander's pocket the whole time. Or maybe Newman thinks she's got Homelander in hers. Like, it could be a situation where they both believe they have the other in each other's pockets. Because it's like, I don't know. Would her powers work on Homelander? We're not sure.
That's been like the biggest question, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if that was the situation, because she has very publicly appeared to be one thing, but behind the scenes, she's very clearly she's another suit, and she's got a bunch of nefarious stuff going on. I loved the stuff with her and Marie, where they have the same power set, and like that was such an awesome reveal. And normally I am the person where I'm like, yeah, I want all these things to connect and have all this cool stuff, and it. Like, up until the finale, I felt like all of the little Easter eggs and connectivity that they put in was some, like, masterful, like, examples of that stuff where I'm like, hey, Marvel, how come they can still get this right and you guys can't?
Yeah.
But then in the last episode, they just went full on, like, Age of Ultron, and they're like, we are instead going to have this completely serve the plot of something else.
Absolutely. And not only that, but I liked where the story was going, but I felt like I missed a whole episode.
Yeah.
Just because of how they hit the gas so fast and just said, you know what, Kate and Sam, they're full-on psychopath villains at this point. And I'm like, I don't mind us getting there, but man, at least take me down the trip a little bit more to show me how we get all the way here that quickly. And it just felt like they really skipped out on a lot of key moments that some of these characters could have needed. It felt like they did it for the sake of, giving us like this kind of, horror, gore-filled finale, which I'm not against, but if it doesn't really mean that much, then it's hard for me to be that invested in it,
Yeah, I mean, Kate's kind of heel turn, granted, like, don't get me wrong, she had always been doing some shady nonsense, and like, we had the whole reveal, but I was like, okay. But clearly they're trying to make her a sympathetic character. It's like she was being manipulated into doing those things that she did, so on and so forth. But then it's like, no, this bitch is crazy.
Yeah. What's the name of the handler?
Talking
Indira.
about Dean Shetty, yeah.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, Dean Shetty. Yeah. She was obviously she was kind of like one of the villains of the show as well, and I thought that like the way that they got rid of her, while it made sense, was also a little undercut as well. I'm like, okay, she's here and she has her own motives, and now she's out of here. But I guess once you have Newman, you don't really need her anymore. But the reason I bring her up is because she was feeding these pills, some kind of medication to Kate that was kind of keeping her in check. And, now without that, Kate is fucking Dark Phoenix level,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I didn't love a lot of the finale, but the moment where she goes to touch Jordan, and Jordan's my favorite character. Mm-hmm. And
I thought it was going to be it.
I was like, no. And then, Marie comes in with the save on that. I was like, yes. But I'm like, how did y'all not stop her after her? I could see it's like, oh, in the heat of the moment, she killed Indira, whatever, No. This was 100% premeditated. She brought you guys there to kill her, slit her throat, and made you watch her die. Right. Like, no, you guys should have stopped her right then.
But she also convinced Sam right then.
Yeah, that's they tried to give Sam a way out with the whole make him not feel anything.
Yeah,
and that was horrifying.
Oh yeah, because that kid is also fucking terrifying. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He was crazy as shit anyway.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the crazy thing about it, right? Because like you look at Jordan. Marie and what was his name? Adrian. Andre. That's it.
Yeah.
You look at those three, and it's like, okay, yeah, I see, like their potential and all that on paper, but it's like, if you're Vought or like if you're a Homelander or like any of these guys, don't you want to get rid of fucking Kate and Sam.
Yeah, yeah.
For so many obvious reasons, those should be the ones that you really want to just fucking obliterate.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, especially Homelander, because he doesn't like anyone having any type of power that could be considered a threat to him.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And I don't know if Kate can, like, if Kate's powers work on him, that would be awful.
That'd be the worst, right?
It'd be somehow worse than him having control of his powers.
Right.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it is kind of bizarre. Yeah, what you think of Sam in this show? I feel like for me, he was probably the most undercut character.
Yeah. I'm shocked that Emma made it through the season alive.
I'm glad she did. She might have ended up being my favorite, at least for the first half. And then she just kind of gets relegated to the background in the second half.
And the same thing happened to Jordan, you know?
Yeah.
With I feel like in the early episodes, they did such a great job of Jordan having like all the, you know, showing the dual power sets, which I thought was so awesome. But then it's like later on, you just don't really, like Jordan's just kind of I'm going to get these civilians out of the way, or I'm a love interest for Marie or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and I really like, I think Marie is probably the only one who I think gets a really good arc here. But
kind of, right? Like the way that the season ends, I don't know if I can say anyone gets a full arc. Like, not a character development or character growth type of arc. You see them advance, but there's no conclusion.
Right.
Know? There's no end spot. So it's hard for me to fully get behind how this season ends.
I really think if they wanted this show to have its own identity, the real good thing to do would actually have been to give us a, you know, they could do a six or 8 episode season of just them at the school, you know, and they could have had the first season actually end with the Golden Boy like suicide deal.
Yeah.
And then I feel like that would have been a much better foundation to go into a season 2 and have all these, you know, kind of the other stuff they wanted that they did with this season, like, you know, them dealing with Golden Boy's death and like, you know, the whole Kate going crazy thing. They would have had a lot more room for that to breathe. But instead, it's almost like we just shoved 2 seasons of
that. That's yeah, that would have been great, right? And let me know what you think, but I feel like they did the whole Golden Boy self-explosion thing almost for shock value.
Yeah.
And but you're right. There was enough meat there for them to, I don't want to say drag it out, but for them to expound more upon the mysteries and secrets of that university. And then at the end of it, you get that twist. Because imagine like how much more surprising it would have been for what could have been proclaimed, you know, the co-protagonist to just do that at the end of the season rather than episode 1.
Right.
But yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it was just kind of a shock and awe type deal. Other things I liked about the show, it's always great to see Clancy Brown doing anything.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of him. That man stays busy, and he stays with that Mr. Crab get money mentality apparently, because that motherfucker's always working. But yeah, he also dies in episode 1. Yeah,
because Golden Boy kills him.
Right.
And you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't get to see a lot of the school, you know? It's like, it was a backdrop. Like, we saw 1 or 2 little, like, kind of classroom scenes or you know, we saw, like, them go to the track that one time and watch, like, one of the duels or whatever that they were doing. And I'm like, I want to see more of this. And it's just like, and then, like, the whole school just is this fucking nightmare scenario, like, so quickly, you know?
Yeah, there were a couple of things that irked me about that, right? So, like, you know, again, not to compare it to the comics because, like, there's not a whole lot of material here about, I believe the name of it is Godolphin University.
Godolphin, yeah.
Yeah, Godolphin, yeah. So, like, that is, an entity in the boys' comic books, but, you know, as you can imagine, Godolphin is more of like it's the Xavier school in the comic books, you know, and you know, the whole, you get like maybe 3 issues dedicated to that, where it's like Huey has to infiltrate the school and pretends to be a student, and it's this whole fucking frat boy nightmare, and you can only imagine how fucking gross it gets there. But,
I'm sure.
Yeah. But while it would have been hilarious to see fucking Huey try to infiltrate the school as a student when he's like clearly 30-something, it would have been hilarious. But the few questions I had about this school and this universe that kind of irked me was, one, what type of powers these kids have. Why were there 0 security measures?
Right, yeah.
I mean, you had like 2 fucking terrible incidents happen within like, how long was the show? Like
a couple weeks tops?
Yeah.
I mean,
and there were just, again, 0 security measures. Like they had no plan of action in case these soups went out of control. Like for the ones that were in the forest, sure, they could turn up that sound knob that would, emit the sound frequency and put them down. But outside of that,
yeah,
there was nothing they had planned there. And 2, like you mentioned earlier, we don't really get to see the school in use that much. It was a setting, it was a background, but it could have been its own character.
Yeah. And I feel like Andre got the short end of that stick too, because I think he's really compelling.
Yeah.
I think if they're going to put anybody in the 7, it would have been him before all that shit went down at the end.
Right.
Because like he's just relatable and he's got a good power set,
Yeah.
Marketable.
Yeah, marketable. It would be hard to market Marie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jordan, you would think like from a capitalistic standpoint, actually, Jordan would be a good pick because it's like we make 2 lunch boxes, 2 action figures,
Yeah. We got the diversity hire.
Yeah. It would have been.
We can hire a trans Asian person, check all these boxes.
Yeah.
Sell all this merch.
Right. And that's what they're all about, checking boxes and selling merch, you know what I mean?
They can sell they can do like the Pokemon thing and have 2 Jordan RPGs.
Oh yeah.
You got to get the male and the female version. They don't have all the same soups.
Right.
So you have to.
Yeah. See, that would that could have worked great. They just need to think outside the box a little bit,
Yeah, I feel like here's the thing, man. Like, I was watching the show with Kay, who has never seen The Boys at all. And she's like, "Where do you think they're locked up at?" I was like, "Well, anywhere that Vault has you locked up, you don't want to be anywhere contained by Vault for any reason." Right. I was like, "You don't want to wait in their lobby." You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a bad time.
Yeah. And this is kind of like a question about the greater Boys universe, but obviously the Boys holds up a funhouse mirror to society, right? And we can just talk about America. American corporations would do a lot of dangerous shit in the pursuit of money and greed. But with something like Compound V, what are the chances you think that a corporation would produce something like that with so few safeguards in mind?
I mean, look at Monsanto. I mean, or asbestos or lead paint or any number of things. I mean, I think the chances are very high.
I guess the difference is that, like, especially if Compound V gets out of the bag and like they do in the show, people not know about its existence, they now have a corporate to point to. Whereas I hate to make this comparison, but unfortunately for years, people were dying of lead poisoning from like lead paint, no idea why, where it was coming from. And so by the time you point out the culprit, well, yeah, the jig is up, but we've made our fucking money.
Right.
It's just kind of a fucked up scenario all the way around, right? Because with the Boys universe, Vought is the ultimate villain, right? Like even more so than Homelander. Vought is the fucking culprit. They're the villain. And they don't have anything in place to kind of stop a Homelander. Hell, even the soups that are in Gen V, they don't have anything really in place to stop that.
Yeah, I mean, Homelander, honestly, if he wanted to, could reduce the planet to ash. I mean, he could straight up do some Dragon Ball Z android nonsense if he really wanted to.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I guess it's possible. Like all the supes combined, you know, would just team up to stop him. But who's to say that he doesn't just Omni-Man all of them? You know what I mean? I mean, we don't know what's out there, but it's like, but even then, like, you know, it kind of seems like his mission at this point is to subjugate the humans and make them kind of second-class citizens.
And surprise, surprise, there's some people who really go for that.
Yeah.
Fucking Todd from season 3.
Yeah. God damn it, Todd. Fucking Todd.
Fucking Todd. Yeah, you mentioned Andre earlier and how he had potential to have a really compelling arc, and I agree. He kind of they kind of threw a lot at that character at first, right? So like his best friend had died. He was kind of a middling student, you know, and then he develops feelings for his best friend's, you know, ex or girlfriend, whatever you want to say. And then he's got this whole thing where he discovers the forest and like the shit going on there, and then, you know, he tries to talk to his dad about it, and then that shit goes sideways, and his dad gets hospitalized. There's a lot of room for like, almost a lot of room for trauma, but there's a lot of room for trauma there with that character, and like, how does he deal with that? But instead, it just kind of becomes relegated to him being pushed around by the plot versus him having his own sincere feelings and declaration in the show.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Also, yeah, fuck sleeping with Kate. Because, you know, like, that could just go so terribly. Although, I guess on the other hand, like, as soon as you slide it in, she can just be like, you're going to bust. And then you just do.
Yeah, and then you just, yeah. Or she could be like, you're a fucking machine. Like, I've never fucked like this before.
Yeah. You just add it. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I'd be like, hey, girl, do the thing again. Do the thing again.
Yeah. Do the thing. Yeah. I mean, it could go really well or really terribly.
Right.
Depending on how you want to look at it.
Yeah. I guess her powers were kind of a mix between like Rogue, because like the touch sensation, and fucking Purple Man.
Well, I was gonna say, what's her name from Umbrella Academy?
Number 3.
Yeah, I was trying to think of her name.
Me too. I forgot.
It's kind of an odd. Is it Claire? Actually, is her name Claire?
Hell, it might be. I forgot. It's been so long.
She was my favorite character
until season 3.
Until season 3, and now my brain's just kind of like, well, never mind.
Right. Yeah, it is a lot like that though. But it does seem to have some kind of limit on what she can do, I guess. Well, actually, without the medication, we don't know what the limits are on her power.
Yeah, I mean, well, it seems to physically strain her, right? And I always love when there's a kind of a limit to their power, like, you know, kind of the Superman, Homelander, Omni-Man thing. Like, you can make that interesting, but you have to add extra layers on top of that.
Right.
But I always love when there's like somebody with like some sort of finite kind of limit on their power, kind of like you know, they are in the early Iron Man stuff before he got like the nanotech.
Yeah.
You know, they would have like okay, well, he's got the reactor, he can only do so much before the reactor goes down, and you can use that as a plot device.
Yeah.
And you know, so when you've got like somebody like Kate, where it's like, okay, she can use her power to a certain point, and then it starts to mess with her or whatever, you know, it starts to harm her. We kind of saw a little bit of the repercussions of that with Andre's dad. You know, I always find those types of powers to be more interesting when there is some sort of limit on them.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, no, agreed.
And that's probably not surprising to you after reading White Sand.
Yeah.
You know, because that's kind of how their powers are.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that'll be a theme in all pretty much everything.
Okay. All right.
Nobody's really running around with Superman powers for the most part. So.
Yeah, you know, not the sidebars here, but man, it in my readings, man, it always takes a really, really talented writer with good vision to write Superman.
Yeah.
You know, and on the flip side though, that type of character works so much better as a villain.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because like having that kind of scary threat, it just works better as a villain. Like, how do you overcome that?
Yeah.
Versus finding something for it to overcome.
Yeah, I mean, with Superman, you have to do something extra to add that relatability, that humanity, whatever to it. And our review, check out our review of All-Star Superman.
Yeah.
And we talk about this at length in that, and how that book managed to find their way around that in really all the best ways,
Yeah.
I think.
For sure. What do you think about the forest in this show?
I don't necessarily know why they called it the woods. I guess it was just a code name that kind of came up, or it was like something that Kate was doing to their minds or whatever.
I know, like, in the background of like some of the rooms, right, they had the walls painted to look like
a forest.
Yeah. But other than that, I don't know.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I think that's an interesting plot, right? Like, they were trying to make a virus that could kill a soup.
Was that the goal the whole time?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, because I thought that Indira asked like the pathologist or whatever he was, had he. I guess she did ask him if he came up with anything, and he said, "Yeah, I got this virus." But I thought that there was conversation that led to him doing that within the show. But maybe he had always been working on that.
Yeah, I got the idea that he'd always been working on that.
Okay.
And I think that it's an interesting plot, right? Like, I think there's a lot you can do with it. Mm-hmm. And also, like, if Homelander finds out about that shit, he's going to kill everyone who even remotely knows about its existence.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And I think the idea of Butcher possibly getting his hands on it is very enticing. But there's the whole concept of, like, it's not yet modified to be airborne. Because if it is, you instantly wipe out every soup on the planet, basically.
Yeah.
Unless somebody can come up with an antidote or whatever in time, or a vaccine, or however it is. But on the same note, you look at the idea of it, like, Butcher's not going to release it because it would probably kill Ryan, In
Butcher's mind, though, do you think that he would view that as, well, worth it?
I mean, he already had the opportunity, if that's the case,
What, to kill Ryan?
Yeah, because remember, Soldier Boy was going to kill in there and kill everybody.
Yeah.
And Butcher stopped him because of Ryan.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if he would make the same decision twice, right. But I think probably.
I think maybe now things are a little bit different now that Butcher knows he's running on limited time. He doesn't have a whole lot of time left because, as we found out in season 3, the Compound V is killing him slowly. And there's not a whole lot left for him time-wise. So, I don't know. I like to think that the last bit of humanity left in Butcher wouldn't do that. But then again, who knows with Butcher?
Right.
Yeah. With the virus, though, what do you think Newman wants to do with it? I mean, because she, at the end of the day, is still also a soup.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, obviously that wasn't common knowledge until, and it's still not, Marie didn't know until she was like, "Hey, I got this thing," and then she told her, and it kind of stopped Marie in her tracks.
Yeah,
and Newman obviously loves the idea of it, but definitely doesn't want to see it become airborne because it's going to kill her too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. Like, the idea of being able to weaponize that. I mean, obviously, like, as an injection, we know that it works. It will kill the shit out of you. Mm-hmm. I mean, the problem with it, though, with Homelander is you can't really inject him with it. So
yeah, I can see them synthesizing it into some kind of gas and trying to put it over him, make him breathe it.
Yeah.
But other than that, they're gonna have a rough time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, when he discovers I think it's going to be a major plot point in season 4 of The Boys. I think the problem, though, is while Anthony Starr is tremendous as Homelander, I would never want to dispute that. It's like, he's been full on villain for a while. I mean, he kind of always was, but like in the public eye now, he's full on villain, and he's gone off the deep end, like further than Magneto. You know,
off the deep end.
Yes. And so it's just like, what? Obviously, it's to the point now where if you kill Homelander, you have to have a bigger or better threat. Odds of that are low.
Yeah.
So it's like, are you gonna? I mean, it's almost basically like once you beat Homelander, that's it. And but then it's like, how long are you guys gonna drag this out?
Right.
I'm gonna be honest. If they do season 4 of The Boys and then season 2 of Gen V and then season 5 of The Boys, I need Homelander to bite the bullet at the end of season 5 because
for sure.
I just can't.
Well, back when we reviewed season 3, I said I think the show has a timeline of 5 seasons. I don't see how they go any further than that.
Yeah,
and it has to end with both Homelander and Butcher dying. You know what I mean? I mean, well, unless they come up with something, Butcher's fate is kind of sealed.
Right.
But I can see Butcher killing Homelander, gaining the power to kill Homelander, then not wanting to stop there. And, that's when I think, like, we'll see, like, Huey or Annie try to, find a way to stop him. But, so I really think that at the end of the day, you need to find a way to stop both Homelander and Butcher. Yeah,
I mean, honestly, if they were to get rid of Homelander as the main threat, I could 100% see a whole another season or maybe even 2 of Butcher as the main villain. But that's the only way you could go to me.
I can only see Butcher being focused as the main villain from like half a season. So if they do 10 episodes, I can see him maybe killing Homelander in episode 5, and then you use the rest of that time to figure out how to stop Butcher. Like,
I could see that.
Yeah, but I can't go an entire season with Homelander dead, and because that's just a void that you really can't feel.
I don't know, man. I thought Soldier Boy was tremendous.
He was great. Yeah.
I could see that being the reason they take the lid off, for him. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, though, it's like, it's like, okay, Homelander's dead. We got to stop Butcher. Let's dig up Soldier Boy. He's not a protagonist either.
Yeah, no.
And if you're gonna have them fight to the death and like both go out, then you got to do that with Butcher and Homelander.
Yeah,
because that's where his issue is at. It's not, they are the Batman and Joker of this from that standpoint. Like they're on the two opposite sides of the spectrum, and it's interesting that they're both kind of bad people. You know?
Right. You're right.
Although they do have to circle back around with Soldier Boy at some point. I loved his cameo in Gen V.
Yeah, that was an interesting cameo. They made it make sense, for me to dig it.
It was sick, but
oh yeah,
he was somehow more depraved than in real life.
Right, like in Kate's mind, he was somehow more fucked up
than he really is. Yeah, I'm like, maybe that should have been our first clue that she had major problems.
That should have been right. Yeah. So before we wrap up here, let's kind of ask some of the big questions about the finale here in this season. So the first big question: how did they survive? You think?
Honestly, I don't know. Like, Homelander started to laser her at point blank.
We see the eyes light up, and we actually see the laser emit from the eyes, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he burns her and then she heals somehow.
You think maybe does he laser the ground beneath them? I don't know.
I don't know, man. It seemed like he got her directly.
Yeah.
And that's only my thing is like maybe she has, because of the blood thing, she also has a crazy healing factor we didn't know about.
In that end scene, I was waiting to see like her try to get out of bed and realize she has no legs. I was waiting for something.
Although I guess she does she does have. We already know that she does heal fast because she cuts her hand all the time.
That's true.
And then it heals up quick.
Yeah.
You know? And when she healed that person at the restaurant, she sealed that wound all the way back up.
Yeah.
So I guess because of her power, she actually probably can super heal. So maybe he just, didn't hit her hard enough to incinerate her.
But what about the others?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just get the feeling that in most cases, if Homelander wants you dead, then I mean, you kind of fucked.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see how maybe Marie survives, like you said, because she does seem to have some type of advanced healing factor. I don't know about the others because they are all presumed dead, right?
Yeah.
To the public.
I mean, when they showed when Homelander showed up, man, I was just like, oh, this is how this is gonna go.
Right.
I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah. But what do you think that they do with Kate and Sam in a season 2 or whenever we see them next? Because they're so fucking unhinged. Are you gonna medicate them half to death, or what? What do you do?
I mean, I could see them putting Kate in the 7, like because they've had crazier, more deranged fucking people in the 7.
True.
But I can't see them putting Sam in the 7. This motherfucker walks around looking like a fucking Chucky doll. Like, he fucking walks around in, like, sweatpants and, like, a fucking Care Bear hoodie. You know what I'm saying? Like, this motherfucker can't be in the 7. Like, Kate is convincing. Like, she can keep it together for an interview. Fucking Sam can't keep it together for 5 seconds.
Yeah, no.
What's going to happen the first time that Homelander goes Muppet on him? You know what I mean? Like,
oh, shit. People are going to die, so what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you do bring up a good point. Kate could be in the 7, but with her being unhinged, she needs, she needs a handler, not as much as Sam needs a handler, but she does still need one. And I don't know if they have anyone there that can actually do that. And I guess, kind of last question before we wrap up. Where are they?
Somewhere under, like, Vault headquarters, maybe, or even worse, does Homelander have them stashed somewhere? Does he have a contingent of Vault just working under him now?
Yeah.
Because he was de facto running the place at the last time we saw.
Because Stan Edgar was out the picture, right?
Yeah, because he got him out. Yeah.
Or hell, maybe I don't see how that's possible. I was gonna say maybe Edgar got them out, but I don't see how that's feasible.
Yeah.
Why are they still alive?
Right. Yeah, that's the real big question, and like, I promise you, they are not gonna like the answer to that question.
Yeah.
No. If Homelander and or Vault wants you alive, you'd probably rather be dead.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So,
they could be putting them together for some type of anti-boys task force.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
That would be. Yeah.
Like a Task Force X type deal.
Right.
Well, they're not gonna go with it though. I mean, but I will tell you right now, like, the 4 of them would fuck up Butcher and his crew.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like,
they would have a real hard time because Marie is awesome. Like, as much as, like, I didn't like the finale, like, her big moment with all the bodies on the field was awesome.
Yeah.
That was really incredible.
Yeah, like her kind of learning more about her own powers was, that shit was dope.
Yeah, when the invisible dude was, like, messing with her or whatever, I was like, he still got blood.
Right.
And it took the show long. I mean, it took her longer. I think everybody in the audience was like, well, he got blood, don't he? Like, they drugged that out a little bit, I guess they wanted to make it seem like a threat and she was thinking about it, but.
And I'm like, at the end of the day, he's just a naked dude, right? Like, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, her blowing off Kate's arm was fucking sick.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder how they're going to handle that. I mean, is Kate just...
How you going to handle that?
Well, I mean, now that Kate's been disarmed...
God, okay.
I wonder if she's going to have like a prosthetic or like some kind of creepy robot arm or...
Yeah, that'll come in handy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if she's got the creepy robot arm, at least, like... Then she has a hand she can touch people with, Oh,
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but that probably has like a fucking death grip, so,
Well, I mean, it's better than the other hand.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah.
Because the other hand's like, go murder your family.
Right.
That one guy that she made eat his hands, man.
That was
rough.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that was awful. That was fucking awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, she made people do some wild shit in this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we should have known way before we did that she was a sadistic bitch.
Because, you look at that power set and you think, man, there's a lot of room for some sick shit to be going on here. Yeah, probably should have seen it coming, but on the show's behalf, it's good that we didn't. So, what are kind of your final thoughts and score for Gen V Season 1?
Oh, man. So, I feel like coming out with this, I feel like they had a couple of choices, right? You can either make this spinoff and you can draw in a new audience, which I feel like was probably the right call here. Or you can hope everybody that watches The Boys tunes into this, and then you can make it serve that plot, right? And normally I'd be the person who's like, yeah, tie it all in, make it all like as connected as possible. And here I just feel like if you're going to try to make Gen V a thing, it can't wholly be there just to service the plot of season 4 of The Boys. Mm-hmm. And that's what they did. So I'm going to say, when I watching the first 7 episodes, I was enjoying it more than I liked The Boys season 3, considerably more. And I was really into a lot of the characters and everything. And then I would say at the end, though, I don't know. Like it just feels like the Boys B team kind of now. Mm. And I don't think that was the right way to go. So, I would have probably said like a 8.5 or a 9 before the finale. With the finale in question, though, I'm going to go like a 7.5 just because it doesn't feel like a finale. It doesn't, like you said, nobody really got there. We got like an Act 1 and an Act 2 with a lot of their personal character arcs. And then there's just no resolution for any of them. Like, with Emma, we got to see her like struggle with her power set and everything.
Yeah.
And then she became popular as a result of it. And then we got to kind of see like the whole deal where her mom has basically been trying to like market her and all this other shit. And we kind of see some of the underlying issues of like why she is the way that she is.
Yeah.
And then just nothing. We're just going to drop that.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Andre. He's the generational talent. Mm-hmm. He's, got everything laid out in front of him, and he just feels like he can't live up to that legacy. And then he finds out that his dad is actually just a fucking stooge for Vought anyway, and he's struggling with the whole fact that his dad's a coward.
Yep.
And then we drop that. Marie, the whole thing with her sister, she murdered her parents. Yeah. She has the ability to go out and help people. She has to balance that against what, Vought wants her to do and like what it will take to be in the 7 versus like actually helping people and trying to get the forgiveness and eventually respect from her sister. And then we drop that shit off a cliff. Yeah. So, it's just like the Jordan thing, the gender identity struggle, the whole deal with the parents. They actually...
Oh, yeah.
They even built in a very significant thing that's prominent in Asian cultures, in particular. The whole, you kind of are expected to sort of fall in line with what your family wants you to do and like not disappoint them and things like that. They dropped that off a cliff. So it's like they had all these really compelling characters.
Being number 2 and then number 1 being gone and then you still not being number 1.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when technically you could have been 1 and 2, I guess. Like, but like, yeah, it's just like they had all these really compelling characters, and then they were like, well, we're gonna just take all that shit and dump it in the trash. Maybe we dig it out for season 2 in service of The Boys season 4. And I guess maybe that's a symptom of maybe they didn't have faith in this when they were writing it, that these characters were going to be as compelling as the characters we already have in The Boys. But I really feel like if they had stuck the landing on this season and kept the focus on these new characters, I feel like they would have gotten in a much bigger audience to increase their audience that they already have for The Boys, which is sizable. Because there is that audience of like the CW type stuff that likes the sort of, young adult, teenage.
Yeah, will they, won't they?
Yeah, all those kind of plots. But then you take away all the fucking by the numbers, this could have been written by fucking AI CW nonsense and make it compelling and for adults. And there is a significant market for that maybe isn't really into The Boys. And I feel like now all you've done is any of those new people that you brought in that maybe weren't already part of that are looking at this like, okay, well, now this is just part of this other thing that I'm not interested in. Not saying they shouldn't go get interested in it. I'm just saying that it feels like this show, at least in the early episodes, is targeted at a different audience. And I feel like that was smart. But instead, it's just like, this is just another... This is season 3.5 of The Boys instead.
Yep.
And I don't hate that. I just don't love it as much as I loved the concept of Gen V being like a kind of just another branch in that, in that story. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm going to stick with the 7.5. Very long-winded 7.5.
No, it's interesting that you score at that because when I was thinking about my score for this show, I was thinking about it last night actually. About, how do I score this season of television? I really dig the premise, and I think, as I've said before, I liked the mystery of the story more than anything else in the beginning, because the characters showed so much promise, but as we mentioned earlier, for me they never fully got there, and their whole drive was this mystery, right? And, we start to get answers to the mystery, but we don't get more turnaround for the characters. And for me, it kind of hurt it. And as we mentioned earlier, the whole fact that we don't really get to see the school at play kind of hurt the show for me too. Where I really wanted to see the show become a character. Because like the little bit we get of this campus in the fucking book, as ridiculous as it is, it felt like its own thing. And for like a few issues, it felt like we were away from the rest of the Boys universe, in the comic book, getting to see Huey fuck around in this place he has no business being in. But I felt that they had really the opportunity to do for Gen V what the Boys did. That being, they could have held up a funhouse mirror to the ideas of these universities for good and bad,
Right.
But instead they really didn't. And I wish they did double down on the characters again. Like you said, maybe they didn't feel confident about it just because these characters were solely created for the show.
Right.
Whereas the Boys had that built-in foundation of a source material where they could just pick and choose what they want and build upon it. The show would have been so much better had they just simply relied on what they could have done here. They're not restrained by the comics because this university, it didn't feel like a fucking Xavier school. It feels like a real university. It could have potential to be that. So that's kind of like my biggest complaints about the show was just like I feel like I had a lack of real character focus. It showed me their potential, but never like what they could be. And the fact that the school is just a kind of a generic setting instead of it being a character. The mystery, again, for the first half of the show was really cool. I wanted to know more about the woods. I wanted to know more about what this place is. In the beginning, wanted to know why Golden Boy killed himself. What's this all about? It was a really, really cool, intriguing mystery. But at the end of the day, they didn't stick the landing for me. Superhero pun intended. But that being said, I am still curious to see what they have for season 2. I think they have more confidence in themselves. But for now, I actually had it scored a 7.3 out of 10.
All right, yeah, man. Yeah. We were right on the money then. We're in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, thinking while you were saying that, I was like, if they really wanted to do like a cool Homelander tie-in, they could have just had, them kind of stop Kate, and then maybe show Homelander, like maybe like they end up locking them up or whatever. Homelander breaks them out in like a post-credit scene, or
I like the idea of like them stopping or subduing Kate, but them not knowing what to do with Sam, and then Homelander shows up and obliterates him.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually thought that was kind of how it was going to go, actually. Yeah. But that's not how it fucking went. Yeah. And then, I guess another cool way they could have gone with it, too, is like in the after credit scene, they could have had Butcher coming into the woods, and like Homelander's already down there. And just have the kind of them on the opposite ends of the hallway, like the long shot, and then just cut it right there. That would have been cool.
Yeah, But then they have to start right there with whatever they do next, season 4, I guess.
I mean, not necessarily. Like, I feel like the way they would handle that,
it's a backtrack to show how he gets there.
And they would probably not necessarily a backtrack. I think the season picks up sometime after that. And then at some point you have Butcher tell the story and show it,
Yeah.
Like a flashback type deal.
Yeah.
But there's a couple ways I could have handled that.
For sure. As of now, I wasn't even really that interested in the post-credit scene. It didn't do anything for me. Like, he was down there looking.
I mean, we clearly know that Mallory called him.
Yeah.
That's who she called, which, I
thought their relationship was done too, but I guess not.
I think at the end of the day, like Mallory is such an interesting character to me, because Mallory has convinced herself, and I think at the end of the day, it really is. She's kind of the white knight of this whole thing. Like, she still wants there to be like good and decency and everything, but at the end of the day, she's like such a logical person, and she knows like sometimes you need to pick up the phone and call the bad guy.
Yeah.
To get the shit done, and Butcher is that guy,
right?
And it's
she's the Claudette, and he's the Big Mackey,
pretty much.
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
That's unfortunately how it is. that's a very apt comparison.
Yeah, for sure. Overall, I really enjoyed the series though, and now I'm really looking forward to digging into Invincible. Season 2. There'll be 2 reviews for that since they're splitting the season in half. So
I'm so excited, dude.
Yeah,
I'm over the moon. First episode's already out, right?
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet.
Same.
But damn it if I'm not gonna. Like, I'm super hyped for it. Really love Invincible. It's so good. And then there's something else coming out soon too, right?
The Marvels.
No, not really.
Is Scraping the Honey still coming out this year? It's been like radio silence on that movie.
I don't know, man. I really couldn't tell you. Like, the only thing I think the only thing I might be really hyped about movie wise throughout the end of this year is probably the Hunger Games prequel. And I'm not really into Hunger Games, but I think that story in particular is going to be awesome. It just looks really good to me. So
haven't seen anything on it yet.
Oh, you haven't seen a trailer for that?
No.
Oh, it's really good. I'm sure they'll probably play it in front of the Marvels. But look it up. It's called like the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes or something like that. But it's essentially like President Snow or whatever. Have you seen the Hunger Games movie? You seen any of those? All right, so it's like the guy who's like the president of like the evil empire or whatever. This is like his backstory. It goes back to like when he was like in his early 20s.
Oh.
And Peter Dinklage is in it, and it just looks very very compelling. So I'm interested.
Okay.
And I'm not a fan of the main series, I should mention. So,
well, shit.
Like, I've seen the movies, but I just think the movies and the books, for the most part, are just meh. Like,
oh, really? Oh, the movies and the books?
They're just I mean, like, it's an okay dystopian. Like, if you really like dystopian settings, you'll really enjoy it. At the end of the day, though, I mean, it's just basically just, you know, it's like Ender's Game or Harry Potter or fucking what's the other one with the maze or whatever?
Not Maze Runner. I knew what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about, though? Yeah. And there's it's dystopian fantasy, you know, right. by the numbers, dystopian fantasy. It's like I'm not gonna say it's bad. It's just it's okay, you know.
Gotcha. Yeah, I keep forgetting that Dune 2 got pushed back to whenever.
Oh, you still gotta watch the first one?
I know, but it's like, I got time.
All right, so real quick, you derailed this. So Timothée Chalamet, right?
Yeah.
He's in a couple things. I'll probably wait for it to come out on streaming, but I'm interested in his take on Wonka, right?
It is Maze Runner where we're thinking of.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, but I am interested in his take on
Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka, yes.
Yep.
However, I told you I watched Sex Lives of College Girls on HBO, which I think is a terrible name for the show. Mainly because I don't like telling people that it's a show that I watch. But it's a great fucking show. As a matter of fact, Mindy Kaling's like the main writer on that.
Okay.
And I'm like, wow,
she's the main writer on it?
Yeah, she's a much better writer than she is an actress. But
she also wrote the Velma TV show.
Right, exactly. And that was kind of my conflict when that came out, because I was like, how is this so fucking terrible, but this show is so good? But anyway, one of the characters, I didn't even realize it, Pauline Chalamet, that's his sister.
Oh, with that last name.
As soon as I heard the last name, I was like, well, I wonder if they're related, because that's not a common last name. And sure enough, that's his sister. And I watched 2 whole seasons of this show, not knowing that. Just, some random trivia.
That is random trivia indeed.
Yeah, random as fuck.
But,
right. That's a great show. I hope HBO doesn't fuck it up. They're not bringing my favorite character back, so
oof.
That's unfortunate. But you really got to watch Dune 1, because Dune was.
And you mean like the one that came out back in the 80s?
No, right? I mean the Timothée Chalamet 2021. Okay. That was easily the best movie that came out that year. I recently watched it again, and such a good movie. But hey, at least you won't have long to wait, because it is very much a part 1. Like it is more of a part 1 than like Into the Spider-Verse. Like they literally just like get to a point, and then the movie just like, okay, well, we'll see you for part 2. And you're like, there's like no resolution to any of the plot points. So yeah,
for sure, gotta check it out. I can't wait to watch part 1 and the OG one with you and the homie Oz.
Yeah. We gotta do that soon.
We do.
Yeah, we'll do that soon.
Yeah, we'll line that up.
So. All right, man.
Yeah, well, that's going to be all for now, but homies, thank you all for listening in. Caleb, thank you for being here to review Gen V with me.
Hell yeah.
And again, homies, go ahead and get your pre-order copy of Soups and Our Heroes, a deeper, darker psychological look at the boys. Fantastic book. Comes out December 5th. Click the show notes below to pre-order and get your bonus material for it. Definitely worth it. But that's going to be all for now. We'll see you guys again soon. But until then, my name is Superhero Homie Q.
And I'm Superhero Homie Caleb.